Hi everyone, I'm back again. My name is Vanna and you are watching Culture Diaries. I told you guys that at this point, you know that I just like to have most of my faves on the show. And today is a very, very special person because he was the first person on this show that I ever recorded 3 years ago. And he's here again. He is the incredible, magnificent artist. His name is Victor Ehikhamenor. Welcome, Victor.
Hey, Vanna. It's already 3 years. Wow.
I know.
Time flies, though.
I know.
Oh
you know, you're one of my favorite people in the world. So I thought to myself, it's been 3 years since the first episode the first one that you shot, and
Let's
amazing things.
Let's catch up.
In fact, say your blow,
Sote.
not get next level.
Sote.
After you,
we're even doing another election.
I'm
again,
telling you.
so,
Do you understand? So I think
right.
that it's important that we meet up and we catch up, and you've had an incredible couple of years. You've opened this wonderful space.
Yeah, thank you.
There is Angels and Muse as well, which is your arts residency.
That's true. I didn't have the studio.
You didn't have the studio then.
Wow.
There's a lot that has happened. You've been on residencies left, right, and center. Commission, Jogja, Bernali, in Indonesia. You've done the Nirox residency. You've showed your work in countries and art fairs everywhere. First of all, the feelings. Just explain how you feel right now from 3 years ago to now.
Dizzy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm feeling dizzy. No, it's fun. I mean, that is one of the perks that come with when you do what you love doing. So it's a way of life for me. I enjoy every bit of art making and what comes with the industry, as hectic as it can be, So I'm happy to have done the works that I've done in this past 3 years, like you said, So sometimes you just keep working and you don't even relax or even sit back to kind of take stock because you just have to keep matching and you understand, So until somebody says, oh, you did this thing, or you even want to update your CV, you're like, okay, oh wow, okay, all right, okay, so yeah, nice.
I mean, I'm talking about Jogja and that Biennale. Yeah. I even forgot to add the prayer room.
Yes, which was in Senegal.
In Senegal
that was 20.
Did you? I mean, the prayer room was so popular, and did that mark any shifts in your work in any way in terms of especially creating immersive spaces?
Yes, I think, no, technically the first immersive place that I created was in Indonesia, which was in 2015, which was Worth of a Nation, which was where I really start looking at spaces as a form of art, not just only canvas or sculpture or something like that. Actually saying that a space can be a canvas itself, So Jogja was the first one that I did, but I would say that Senegal, being in the continent, being in Africa, was the first place that I would say kind of created a shift, because it was one of those things that I really enjoyed creating, which was a bit, I would say celestial, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I think I agree with that word actually.
So it was something that happened after I had arrived in Senegal, So and it was
because I feel like in the last 3 years, your work has really taken a very three-dimensional direction. So whether it's with the turning spaces into art experiences, right, and even your sculptural work as well, the masquerades and all of those different things. Have you when you look at sort of the evolution of the work?
Yes.
Did you anticipate some of the things that were happening, or do you feel that a lot of it was very organic?
I think a lot of things have been quite organic, if you want to put it that way. And I'm one of those that if you give me a space to occupy, I will occupy it. It's just a matter of seeing art in many ways instead of just one very monodirectional way. So when you look at it from that perspective. So I go to a space, whenever I go to a space, maybe for installation or to work at, I don't just dive into the work, no matter what. At least I'll case the place a little bit, talk to the space a little bit, you know, kind of look around and see what kind of conversation is the space having with me, starting from Isimagodo at Nirox, you know. So I got there and I didn't know it was going to take that scale, but when the space started talking to me, then it started growing, you know. So same with in Senegal as well. I got to the place and I asked Samuel Jami, who was the curator, to show me where I can do my installation. And we moved around a little bit, moved about and all of those things. And when I got to the place was like, this is where. So I asked him, can I take this place? He was like, yeah, you can, you know. So again, the place, spaces can determine what kind of, you can have a plan. And when you get to a place and that plan that you had initially and the space is saying, no, you need to change your plan, it gets to a point where you can't fight it. You know, as a young artist, you start fighting it and everything. And sometimes that's when you have issues with the work. But when you are growing, the more matured you are, the more you have to also listen to your work and see what kind of dance they want to perform in a particular place.
I feel like you don't mice yourself, right? You don't hoard yourself, so to speak. And you're really constantly responding to the things around you. You're responding to the political climate. You're responding to different situations. You're creating work that people can collect, but you're also creating work that anybody can experience and feel. And I want to know if that is very important to you as your own personal ethos.
Yes, it's something that I've always wanted. I mean, like, again, I always say this, and I won't get tired of saying it. I grew up in the village, okay? So in the village, you really don't sell artworks. You create for the people that create the worshiping places, the people that create the shrines, the people that create installations and stuff like that. They are not for sale. They are for people to enjoy. Art is for everybody. So you have to create something that meets people at different levels, you know. So it's very important to me to also be able to reach people that would normally not collect, you know. So I think that is quite important for me as an artist, you know, also as a writer, you know, so that other people can have access to these things, you know, not just like works created only for specific places. So I'm coming from that kind of background. I'm coming from that school of thought that, you know, it can be limited. It can not be boxed. So if you create something that can speak to a large number of people, not everybody, your work will not be able to speak to everybody, you understand? But if you can get a critical mass of people that understand where you're coming from and all those things, I think that works for me. You're
also an artist who is very, very politically engaged in conversation. You write op-eds. You're involved in the spaces of dialogue and in conversation. Looking at the times that we're in now, do you feel like, especially for younger artists who are coming up, do you feel like it's something they need to be receptive to or understand that it's going to have to go beyond art making itself, but we have to also be in dialogue with the things that are happening around us?
I think first of all, an artist or a writer is the mirror of the society. If this is what is happening in the society, you have to be a mirror, you have to be a reflection of what is happening. But it's not something that you just jump up overnight and start doing, because I'm a writer as well. I have that background. So sometimes what people are saying,
non-fiction, fiction. I just didn't want to read his bio for you guys.
What people are saying is the artist, but what I'm exhibiting is the writer background of me. So I didn't start getting politically engaged today. I started when I was probably, I would say maybe in secondary school, you know, being a cartoonist, then university, be a cartoonist, being a writer. The first group of things the first clubs and stuff that I joined as soon as I entered Ekpoma was the newspapers, campus newspaper, Fangs, Paramount News, you know. So, and I was one of those also that would write posters when there is demonstration. So I would design posters for students to carry and stuff like that. So those kind of residue are there, you know, so they come to play sometimes when you are politically aware. And also having again, coming back and working in a newspaper as creative director for Next, all the news and everything come to you. The entire country, pretty much, you can see it in a dashboard in a way. So with all of that, you can't really help it sometimes with your work being political. It's not like, oh, you just come out, you want my work to be political and stuff like that. It's something that is already there and is just exhibiting itself the way they are.
Let's go on to Venice, which was massive.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
It was quite exciting for the fact that it was something that is historical, and it was something that was needed for the country, because we have to realize that the industry need that ginger, to put it that way. You understand? The music industry has enjoyed quite a lot of patronage and quite of like that excitement and everything. The film industry has in Nollywood, and the art industry is also like something that is now getting that momentum and stuff like that. And when you look at it, and Nigeria has not really been able to been to Venice Biennale, even when countries like Zimbabwe have been, you know, and other countries, you know. So it was a really beautiful moment, I would say. It was hectic, and I'm happy about it. And you know, so there's a saying that my father is beating somebody is better than somebody is beating my father, you know. So it's better to always like put your country forward as well.
I think as an art, you're also very interesting artist, because you get, you know, recognition both at home and abroad as well. You've shown in where do we start? you had a show in London, Tyburn Gallery. You had a show in London. You had a show you showed in Miami, Basel, South Africa. I mean, I feel like Armenia. I was like, why is Victor in Armenia?
Let's run off the local.
What's happening there? You know, I mean, you've been everywhere. Where's been the most exciting place that you've shown for you?
Oh my God, everywhere is really exciting. I mean, I know this is really hard to. This is a really hard one.
Yeah.
But everywhere is exciting. I would say that Venice was exciting for me, and the other artists that were also there because of its historical importance. But I will have to tell you that there's nothing as exciting as actually showing in Nigeria. You know, like, you know, it's your home base. It's just like a big old party with friends and people at home. You understand? You know, so home.
When are we getting a solo at home?
Well, it's in the works. It's in the works. You know,
well,
so like it's in the works. It's all this here, there, and everything. You know, so yes, it's actually like I've been really like pinching myself that I've not done a major solo in Nigeria for quite a while. It's not like I haven't really done something, but like a big solo that people have access to, not just like, you know, like ArtX. I did ArtX or even Tempo Muse and stuff like that. But I'm talking like something I did since 2011. This is the 9th year now that I've done a solo, which was at CCA. Something like that, you understand, you know. So it's in the works.
I mean, I feel like you've always been involved in this dialogue with culture and tradition and modernity, history. They've always been in conversation within your work. But I feel like recently, even more so heavily. Your series of works that use the rosary works, that also uses the rosary with the motif of traditional rulers. And then, and then even the priests or the cardinals, and you have all these inscriptions in them. So this dialogue, this back and forth of the traditional and the modern. And I think that, and I just want to know why and how that has continued to be an undercurrent, whether before in a subdued way and now really coming into prominence. Yes.
It has always I would say that if you look at my artist statement, is based on, you know, history, culture, and how does that affect it now? Because we have to really like being able to look back to be able to like interpret it now and also know what is going to come in the future.
Yeah.
You know, so and also there is just that rush now to just grab the latest and everything. And okay, so how do we even evolve? These things can evolve, you understand, you know. So, and there's also the tendency, one of the biggest fear is that somebody is going to say, is this person that is influencing you or that person is influencing you? Meanwhile, because they don't know where you are coming from, because you have never really told anybody where you are coming from, there is that tendency for them to take you and, you know, completely. You know, there's not that there is completely anything wrong with people, but you have to gently find a way to remind people, look, I'm coming from a very long line of well-endowed people, a kingdom that has never played with art, a kingdom that has never not looked at patronizing artists. They never looked down on art. Art was a part of life. Yeah. You understand? So I'm coming from Edo, and every household in Edo is almost like has one or two artists. By the time you count 4 uncles, you have an artist. By the time you look at 2 grandparents, you have one that was a goldsmith, or one that was a blacksmith, or one that was a carver, or your mom was a painter, or something like that. Not in your contemporary way, but in a way that when you look at it really carefully, you realize that the canons of art that the West celebrate, you have had them in the village, you have had them in your locality, you understand, you know. So how do we reawaken these people? How do we, which was why I went to really like look at that whole subject matter in my Venice work, to kind of like look at the Benin again, the bronze casters, all the bronze you can find in most of these Western museums, even before the whole bring back all our artifacts and arts right now. That was the subject matter I was dealing with at the Venice Biennale, biography of the forgotten, because we seem to have forgotten these things. You know, let's wake them up. Let's write their biography. Let's look at these things again. Because until then, you understand, then fast forward 2 years later, down the road, or even 1 year later, then we are all having this whole hullabaloo about, oh, the works now have to come back. Macron is saying, return all this work. Everybody is scrambling around. I'm like, yes, you understand, you know. So it's quite interesting that a lot of younger artists, a lot of even older artists have to look at it. That does not mean that we have to completely be pegged down locally. We also look at globe. You know, we have to look at the global world, what is happening. So how do we become part of that conversation, but you are standing your ground? Because if you can't stand your ground, you are pretty much floating, and that is when you get taken for granted majority of the time and stuff like that, you know. So I think that is where my whole urgency is coming from, in looking at those works that have been done by the greats, you know. So even the modernists, you know, like Demuchi Okeke, you know, and the rest, you know. So what have they done? What can we contribute to what they have done? How can we learn from what they have done? How can we continue this narrative that they started? Because they did a lot of work. So it's just like, we can't just throw all that away and start scrambling for things. How do we add to that? How do we make contemporary what has been modern the way the modernists make tradition? You understand? So it's a bridge that you have to keep adding layers. It's a ladder that you have to keep adding the steps to make sure that, you know, we are moving the narrative forward.
There are a lot of young people who look up to you, and I'm sure you mentor as well. I've also sort of been in spaces with young people and young artists, and sometimes I wonder if, so I've had certain experiences where I'm wondering if people are trying to skip the development stage, right? So I'll give you an instance. There was a forum event which I was hosting, and there was a collector who had just talked about collecting a certain person's work. And so there were some young people who, they were volunteers at the event, and so they said, they were like, oh, they want to meet this collector. They were showing me their work on their phones and all of that. And I thought, and I said to them, you know, what is probably beneficial to you is meeting one of the artists who's spoken on the stage. Perhaps that's, you know, that's probably even where you're trying to get to now, before thinking of this big collector. And I'm wondering what your experiences have been like. Do you feel like the money side of things just has made a lot of young people just think, oh, I can be in this and I can be wealthy, or I can win all these awards and win all these prizes, and people are not ready to look into developing their practice? Or has it been a different experience for you with people that you've seen and you've worked with?
No, the hustle is real. No.
No more after.
The hustle is real. Quite a number are in a very big hurry. Because what they see most of the time is quote unquote the glamour. Yeah. You understand? Then when they come behind and see the machine, they see that even when you are sick, you have to come to work, you have to be in the studio, you have to read, you have to, the rigor of it and all of that. Then, you know, so, but it's good to have dreams, it's good to push, but I think also you have to back it up with work. You can't discourage somebody for wanting to be able to sell their works, you understand? Because, I mean, one, they have to pay the bills. Two, but the thing is that keep developing. You know, I look at myself, was I a young artist? I traveled kind of like a different road, you understand, to being an artist and stuff like that. I've had jobs, I've worked in corporate world and all of that. Yes. So when you see somebody that is just like, okay, I want to be a studio artist and from day one and all of that, then like I said, the hustle is real, you know. So, but the most important thing is that please put in some work in the work, you know. So yeah, because it shows and eventually it will come and all of that, you know. So the collectors will come by the special grace of God, you know. So you know, so yeah, you know. So yeah.
Let's talk about Angels and Muse.
Yes.
I mean, this was your baby of last year.
Last
year.
It's a year. It's a year this week actually.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think because by now we are preparing for the opening, we are done and everything. You know, so,
and it's a residency space.
Yes.
It's also a space that's used for a lot of, I would say, artistic development and incubation.
Yes, blank canvas.
Yeah, so you know, there are workshops that happen there, there are trainings that happen there, and there's also, I mean, what's the vision for Angels and Muse?
It's to give back really to the community that I belong to, you know, in a way. But also figure out how do we make money to keep the lights open. So if I want to, if there's a book reading that has to happen there, and we don't have to charge for that. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so if you're doing something that you're going to make money from, you pay. But if it's something like your book, you want to launch your book, it just came out, you know, you want to have a poetry reading, you want to have a listening party, you want to make an announcement, you understand? We want to bring somebody to come and teach, like we brought Siddhartha from New York, you know, so say, okay, you stay there, but you have to teach, you know, classes and all of that. So it's kind of like that, you know. So I'm happy that you know, it was a dream that I've always had for the very long time. And one of the few people I shared it with was Imai Duma, and you know, so when the opportunity came for me to dive into it and all of that, I decided to do it, you know. So because people also need that kind of a little bit of shoulder, you know, to rest on, something like that, you know. So
you're somebody who is in all of your works, whether it's your writing, whether it's your photography, whether it's your just art making in general, and as a person there's a certain level of consistency, and you know, there's a great level of consistency, and I'm wondering, where does that play a part in who you are as an artist, your sense of purpose?
I am the last child. Have sisters that were close to me. So when I was a kid, everybody had already grown up. So I became very close to my dad. So which means somebody that my dad was, I don't know how old he was when he had me, you understand? So a 5-year precocious child, constantly bombarding this guy. My dad was like a philosopher. People would come to him for advice, come to him for all sorts. So as far back as I was a kid, he wakes up at like 5 a.m. to take people and listen to them and solve problems and advise husband and wife and do this, do that, you understand? So I really just followed it. So it was like my playmate kind of like, you know, so I learned a whole lot from him, you understand? And one thing he always says that whatever you are doing, just do it right, you know? So he's not going to tell me, he was quite liberal. He didn't say, oh, you must go and read this, you must go and read that. So, and I also saw how very dedicated he was in whatever he decided to do. Come rain or shine, he would make sure that he does that, and his word was his honor. So I look at that and I kind of model whatever I'm doing after that, you understand, you know? So luckily enough, I'm doing what I like. It's very important. It centers me that art is something that I really enjoy doing. Writing is another thing that I don't write enough now, but I'm coming back to it more again now, you know. So
book coming out this year. Is it this year?
Amen. Oh.
Book is coming out, Sha, just to let you know.
You know, so that is the hope. That is what I say, purpose. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just jumping around or setting unnecessary competition for yourself. John is doing this, you are jumping up and down to go and do it. Raymond is doing this, you are jumping up and down. You know, you stay in your lane, you understand? You stand your ground and just, you know, it's not like you're not going to get inspired. You look at people and say, oh yeah, that is pretty cool. I get inspired, but to say that you are now, that's what is going to choke you. Oh, I must, you understand, you know, so this guy just bought a new car, I have to find, no. And eventually everything if you are prayerful, if you are hardworking and everything good will come as Sophia says, you understand, you know. So yeah. Oh my God.
Let's see if it has changed.
I don't know. Smooth operator. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a good song, though.
Thriller is fun.
Oh, okay.
So, but, I mean, we are getting all excited, you know. So
no, you are in a very fun place right now.
I don't have any. I've said this before, right?
I know.
Yeah,
Everybody has been saying it. You said
no.
it. Yeah, you said it before. You
Yeah, like I don't really.
Okay.
To be honest with you,
Personal,
it's not that I've been very cautious about things, like overcautious and everything. It's just I don't dwell. If I make a mistake, I hope I don't repeat that mistake again.
Yeah.
So in that case, I don't really like I can't say I left Nigeria, I left the village, I came to Lagos, I worked for Nest. You understand what I'm saying? This is a career.
Yeah.
Family wise, I'm fine. I'm okay. You understand? You know, so I'm cool. Being born in Nigeria, no. I'm to be honest with you, I'm very fantastic. So when you say regrets and stuff like that, okay. To my younger self, piece of advice to my younger self. What did I not do when I was young? Well, to be honest with you, everything I want to do is this didn't just start. Anything that I want to do, I go out and do it.
Okay.
To be honest with you, like, for real, I wanted to go to university. I got up. The age I said I was going to enter university was when I entered. I wanted to leave the country and I left. I wanted to come back. I came back. You know, so again, it's advice to my younger self. Worry a little bit less, but don't just fold up. Don't just like, oh, because I'm super confident, I'm overconfident and stuff like that. But worry less, knowing fully well that whatever will be, will be. Orange.
Why?
We had an orchard, you know.
Oh, okay. Village boy.
Yes.
Memories.
Yes. Change. People look for monumental change. You have to look at some of the minimal changes. You understand, you know. So I think really we can continue. We can write a thesis on how the art can change the world, you know. So we are not just looking at visual art. We are looking at music. We are looking at orchestra. We are looking at performance, we are looking at dance, you understand, you know, so we're looking at installation. So when you look at it from that perspective, when you look at architecture, You understand? That is art. So how is a good architecture going to change the world if you're able to like provide accommodations and stuff like that? Yes, you're changing the world. So whenever they say can art change the world, we're looking at big grammars, theories, and stuff like that. But we have to look at really like the functional aspect of art. You understand? How can that bring a conversation about? How can it lead to certain changes? A piece of work can cause revolution. So if you look at it from that perspective, you know that it can change the world.
Double high five. And there you have it, guys. A wrap on another amazing episode of Culture Diaries. Thank you to my wonderful guest, Victor Ehikhamenor. Don't forget that you can follow me online. All my channels and all the information you need is at the bottom of the screen. And feel free to subscribe to the channel and share with your friends as well. Until next time, remember,